Hello there, YouTube. This is going to be a conversion from a CB antenna to an antenna to listen to AM and shortwave on. This is a CB antenna. We'll go down here. Here's how it hooks in. I've already experimented with this, where the wire is folded over. I scraped it and touched it. I put this on my antenna selector switch. Extra port, so I can use the test for AM. I use several AM stations, a strong one and a weak one. We're going to turn this upside down. Instead of this load being at the top, it's going to be at the bottom. Okay, then this wire will go up. It's kind of technical how a load works on an antenna, but it's going to be loaded up a lot at the bottom, and it's going to have a wire going up. You could probably sit there and keep cutting it off for FM. If you had an antenna analyzer, you'd probably be surprised what you get for FM stereo. We're going to take this off as fiberglass. So I have to saw this off. I'll use my Dremel cutoff blades. We're going to be sawing this off. We're going to be digging this out. And then when we flip it around, we'll epoxy it. These are pretty cheesy antennas. Should have been on telemacro. See how that's soldered on there? I took this antenna apart because it wasn't any good and resoldered on her just to test it. Pretty cheesy junk, cheap brand. But we'll get this out of there. Just don't breathe in the fiberglass dust. Any dust like that's not good for your health. It's like doing body work on cars with no fiberglass. Just don't breathe it in. Have a little fan going away. Do it outside. Do that part outside. I'm going to take my time drilling it out, so I don't want to waller this out. I don't want to drill into any metal. I just want to get the fiberglass out of it. So when we get that apart, we'll show how we, step by step, how we do it. Then we're going to epoxy it back on the other end. The other end, we're just going to unwrap enough wire to get the connector on, and then we'll do the same. We'll solder it. I'm trying to remember if this was factory Scotch tape up here or not, but pretty cheap antenna. That's the reason I ripped it apart. This had a white vinyl jacket over it. If you're careful with your razor knife so you don't hurt the wire, you don't want to nick this. This wire is coated. It is enameled coating on it to keep it from being shorted out against itself. Transformer wire is what I call it. I've got a transformers. Enameled wire. So don't nick this stuff up and get it shorted. You'll just ruin the effect, because we want to have this nice load coil at the bottom. It'll be flipped around like this. You can't hurt anything when you're receiving. You really can't. You can do all kinds of experiments. You can make antennas out of aluminum foil, pop cans. You're really not going to hurt a receiving radio. And I know there is the theory of a CB radio. If you have a short antenna, it can blow out the receive finals. I do believe there can be a problem on radios like that. But your shortwave radios and stuff, you can hook to anything. As long as there's no electricity coming out. You can hook to gutters, on houses, everything. So, enough of that yakking about it. We'll have little clips and pictures showing how we get it apart. Okay, we put electrical tape over here, a couple layers, because we'll be working on this, cutting it off, drilling it. Little cutter blade in my Dremel. Don't use too high a speed, just enough to cut. We're going to chop this off in here. But this is protected while I'm working on it, because I'll be drilling the inside out. Okay, it's polka time! Now, be serious. Serious mindful, ain't fun, ain't gonna do it. Okay, here's how I get it turned out. I'm in here about, should be using a tripod, but it's just a quickie project. I'm in here about this far, not quite there. This is what I use, my Dremel bit. This is a spiral cutter. Some of these have more teeth on the bottom. I wish I could get it. You get the idea. The spiral cutters. It just won't focus on it. I did have a fan blowing. I was in my chair and I got a fan on my desk. I was blowing it away from me, that fiberglass dust. This is where it was soldered. Well, I can't remember some of this stuff of how I took it apart. but I'm having the wire inside. I'll put a little groove on the fiberglass. I'm having the wire come inside down the antenna and be soldered through here. Cause that's how big the hole was. I just cleaned it out. I may have made it a little bit bigger. Here, let's back off a little bit. I may have made it a little bit bigger, but I didn't make it that much bigger. We did get close with the Dremel blade here a little bit. Use a fresh new blade and you just about get all the way through it. I had to break the last little, like, 1/16 of an inch of fiberglass. You don't want to shatter fiberglass. It's just a mess. It's no good. You want to shatter it. It ain't any good. It's like shattering a fishing pole. Give you a good reference. I love this little holder because I had my 140 watt soldering iron on here to where this got hot back here. I touched this and burned myself. I held it on here for so long that I was ready to go for the butane torch. Then I know that gets messy, but this will be covered up with shrink wrap or tape, probably tape. I need to get some shrink wrap. So this was never seen on the antenna before anyway, this part. So don't worry too much about it. If you do this, you're chipping the chrome off the brass. This is all going to be covered and sealed anyway. That's the problem. This antenna was all, the plastic was all peeled away. It was all corroded. And the way I looked at it, it looked like I just unwrapped the wire and soldered it there. I just unwrapped and soldered just to see if the antenna would work. And it tuned like crap. It's a cheap made brand. Some of them antennas you had to keep cutting the top off. Why would you want to go in somewhere and buy an antenna to put on your truck or something? You got to keep cutting on to make it work. Okay? I know a company I shouldn't advertise for stuff, but I used to get the Francis whips. My favorite was like the Hot Rod or something, like 4.5 foot. Look it up, Francis whips. You put them on like 17 or 18 feet of cable, you don't have to tune them. I used to get them and have them just for the fun of it, then sell it off to the neighbor or somebody else back in my CB days. I would go buy them at truck stops or somewhere and just run around with it and then resell it for the same price or more. Not that there was anything wrong with it. I'd tell them right now, I'd go to the next model. They'd do the same thing. Go to the next model. If they found out the next one I got's better, they'll sell them one earlier when I sold them. But I did have a favorite. It's like 4.5 foot, like Hot Rod, I think it was called. Francis. You can find it out there. Google it. But I do have a little piece that in between my fingers, that fiberglass I got to dig out. I know that's what it is. I can feel it itching. Because I was grinding this. It mostly came out powder. I just kept tapping it out. I just kept tapping it out on the side of my desk, get the crap out. I didn't blow it out with my hand or air compressor. I just kept tapping it out. There is still some left in there, but for our purposes, that's going to be in there far enough, as far as the Dremel blade will reach. Very extreme. It's almost to the top of the nut. But we'll make this too long a video by rambling on. But back to poker time. Okay, welcome back to poker time. That's what it's called, poker time. Comes on an AM station I get. It's all over the country, different stations. Probably find the internet. Okay, before you start unwrapping, let's put some tape here. We get out the high dollar calipers. This hole is 7/8 deep. Sorry about the glare on the glass. I forgot again. Here, let's set that light off. When I do a project, it doesn't bother me when I'm working. We went past 7/8, just about a 16th. Put some tape on here. This thing could start unraveling on you and be all over, you'll ruin it. This is a nice tight coil. You're going to be finding out where the wire comes through. Cut plenty of extra. You'll be scraping this enamel off to solder it. Okay, we're going to put enough wire through to where we're going to chop back here somewhere. Like I say, we're going to go back in here like that. Just don't throw this stuff away. You can use it. All you can do is scrape the enamel off. You have to scrape this enamel off here. Okay, get up against the light. You have to scrape the enamel off. Can you see the copper shining there? You have to scrape this outer red, clear painted enamel. I call it enamel. Lacquer. I can't remember what they used on transformer wire in their day, but I was going to mention to you earlier, I had CB antennas in a day that had clear vinyl jacket where you could see the red in here. And man, you talk about gaudy antenna, and they were big. They were probably 4.5, 5 foot tall, plus with about almost a foot stinger on them, and I cannot tell you the name of them. It seems to me whether Soldering or Antron made mobile antennas once, and that's what it was. Local guy was ordering them, buying them, selling them to us, and just making money hand over fist. We didn't care. I knew what he was making profit. Didn't bother me. He was doing all the stuff. He was getting them. I got to test them. I got to put them on my car before I paid for it and try it out. I had an old 64 Galaxy that trip down memory lane here, and I put a ball mount in the middle of the trunk. It was a gold bronze color 4-door 64 Galaxy, and I had several in my life, but this is in the mid 80s, just an old bomber, but mechanically sound and good. And I had a ball mount right on the trunk, and people just have a fit. Why did you drill a hole in your car and blah blah blah? And I'm sure ham operators went through that. I had antennas all over the toolbox of my truck. Why did you drill holes through that nice toolbox? Well, it's mine. Ball mount. And I didn't use a spring. I figured if they snap, that's one thing I'd do. He had me put one on there and drive 70 mile an hour to see if it'd snap. Not making this stuff up. I'd run around like get up to 70 mile an hour or more to see whether it would snap off without a spring. Because springs suck. Springs corrode. They do serve their purpose. But thought I'd throw that in there. Back to poker time, back to work. Okay. I'm having fun. Poker music. It's Sunday. It's my day to do fun stuff. Okay, this isn't going to go in there. See where I scraped all that enamel off? Do not make a tight bend here. Make a gradual bend. We're not going for looks, we're going for a function or whatever. Do not kink that wire just so it'll look nice when it lays against here. Even if this doesn't go on all the way. I'm going to grind with my Dremel a little flat spot for that wire to fit, so this will fit on there. We're just going to solder through the hole to the wire, but this is going to be shoved all the way in there, and this is clean brass. It's going to contact up against the brass. There, that's better. And then it's going to be soldered. Don't worry if it doesn't go on all the way. I measured 7/8 up to here. Don't worry if it goes on all the way. I don't know if I'm going to use this clay type epoxy or that liquid stuff. I don't have much of the liquid stuff left. I'm down to the bottom of the tubes, but if I can cut the tubes open, I'll use the liquid. I'd really rather not, because that's messy. I may just mold some of this and put it on there when I shove it in there. But you're not going to get much. So we're kind of leaning towards the liquid. You're not going to get much of that clay type stuff over it. We'll see what we can get out of it, out of the old tubes. I need to buy some more of it. Harbor Freight sells it for a couple dollars, that little epoxy. These are pretty old tubes. See, one of them is down at the bottom here. But if I can cut it open and get anything out of it, I will. Put on your gloves, wear latex gloves. Don't get that stuff on your hands. We're going to cut the tubes open to see what works. This won't be going down the road, but it might be outside in a windstorm, so it's the same difference. You can see where I draw with an ink pen. I'm going to grind that flat so the wire will fit, and I want it snug. I don't want to have to pound it on there. I want it to go on there pretty snug. I'm going to test fit it before I glue it. Okay.
Here's a tune called John Went to Katy.
Back to work.
Brand new to.
Okay. We ground a flat spot on it. It might be hard to see on the camera. Don't grind too much. You could grind a groove. I didn't feel like trying to grind a precise groove to get that on there. I used an odd shaped, it's not a ball diamond, it's not a ball one that's tapered, but it did make the groove deeper in the center of it. I just went up and down it, got close as I could to the tape without hurting the wire. It's going to go in there far enough. All we have left to do is epoxy it and solder it, then we can take this tape off here. I've been using vinegar and water for cleaning this up. I used a brass brush. This was kind of dirty. I've been using that, and it makes good cleaner. You can see where I've scraped all that enamel lacquer off the wire. If you're going to be soldering through the hole when you're done, you could probably use a small soldering iron, but it's nice to have a big 100 watt, 140 watt gun. I don't know if that's how they had it before, but I'm not soldering and having the wire on the outside. I want it all tucked in here, so this is contacting the brass when it's on there. When I put epoxy, I will not put it near the wire. It'll be around everywhere in the fiberglass, but right where the wire is, so I don't have to dig it out or nothing to try to get the solder to work. Don't want to contaminate it. It will slide on there. It's a little snug fit when it gets to the top, but that's it. One more part of the video will be when it's done. Thanks for watching this part. Okay, things are just too shiny. We are on telemacro, but we ground off the solder so it lays flat. Notice how the wire has a gradual curve to it. Sorry it's out of focus. Maybe it's because my batteries are getting low. And you notice how that's curved? Don't put a kink in that wire, how it curved itself down in there. It's got clear epoxy in it. That stuff you mix in the tubes. Figured that'd be the best choice. I ripped the tube apart and got enough out to mix this a little bit up. So I do that. Put on your gloves. I gutted the tube open with a razor blade knife and took a little stick tool I got and got the rest of the epoxy out. I'm thinking about putting some foil tape on here. It's pretty windy out. Losing all the leaves off the tree. We had a hard freeze. Think about putting some of this around there. I'll include some pictures too, being this is blurry. I think I'll just put some foil tape around it so it'll still look silver. I really don't want any black tape on there. This end now, I took the cap off, epoxy cap, and hot glued it on there. If it falls off, I'll think of something else. It was red. I didn't like the color, so I took some Sharpie marker to it. But I did fold the wire over the top, and when I put the cap on, I turned it this way, which would be counterclockwise looking on the end, to kind of wrap the wire tight as I was putting it on there with the hot glue. But I folded the wire over top of the tip of the antenna. So it's just not going in that cap, it's folded over the top of the rod. So it won't unravel. Now I'll include some pictures. Thanks for watching this homemade antenna. I will make a video of it in use.